A lot of people don't know. We were so close to losing our house. We had a foreclosure paperwork right there, and it could have been very easy to give up. What did we do? We invested in Joel instead of paying our mortgage, which was super crazy.
3 years in the business, right? What did you do year one, you think, in revenue, roughly?
Year one, a little less than 400,000.
And then year two?
Well, the goal was 1 million. We hit 1.5.
And going on your third year, what are you shooting for this year?
So this year we're shooting for 2.5. You got to back up your team, you got to back up yourself, and you got to back up your family. So yeah. I feel like during those tough moments, it's whenever you really have to show your character, go put your chest out and take care of the problem before it becomes a bigger issue. A lot of people, once things start getting a little bit tough, that's when they quit, and they were just that close to success.
What are some behind the scenes you could kind of share with the audience? Because you keep saying discipline and consistency. What does that look like behind the scenes, and what are some pains that you could share that these guys have to understand that we all go through? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Mercado Method as we're here in the mini series with contractors from Contractor Excellence. My name is Joel Mercado, the founder of Contractor Excellence, and I'm here today with my man Manny from 47 Painting here in Merced County, right? Or Merced City?
It's Merced County, California, yeah.
Absolutely. So Manny, tell us a little bit about your journey. When you first started 47 Painting, first of all, why 47? What was that?
Yeah, so we get asked that a lot. I come from a athletic background. You know, I used to be a soccer player. The dream was always to play professional soccer. That didn't, go my way. It's God's plan. It shifted us towards, working blue collar, and I had the opportunity to open up a business. I felt like the 47 was unique to my name, and I just felt like transferring it over.
Nice, nice. And how many years ago did you open 47 Painting?
So 47 Painting as a business, it started in 2023.
2023.
October 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what led you to want to start the business?
I worked with a lot of different painting companies, and there was always, pros and cons to everything. So I took a bunch of the pros and also some of the cons, and I wanted to eliminate those cons, open up a company where I'm able to provide the majority of the pros and trying to eliminate all of the cons that I learned from other companies. So we're trying to build something nice here.
I love that. I love that. And I noticed you always say 47 Painting, where the quality you deserve. What brought you to that? Is that part of the cons that you saw in other painting companies that you said, hey, we're the quality you deserve? Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the majority of us real painters, when we are assigned a task or a job, we always want to do it meticulously. So I felt like whenever I was on the brush, I was able to do jobs and perform them with the quality that the customer deserves. So when I opened up this company, I felt like it was a must to be able to give every customer exactly what they deserve on every job. So we just brought over the slogan. We made it official so that our team and the customers can know what we're doing, and feel like we're providing just that.
Love that, man. And so think about this, right? So guys, I want you to pay attention. 3 years in the business, right? What did you do year one, you think, in revenue, roughly?
Year one, a little less than 400,000 when we joined, your program, and yeah.
And then year two?
Year two, we went up to, the goal was 1 million. We hit 1.5.
1.5. Mm-hmm. And going on your third year, what are you shooting for this year?
So up till now, we're about 100,000 shy of last year's goal.
Yeah.
Not goal, but of what we did last year. So this year we're shooting for 2.5.
Isn't that crazy, guys? So this is what happens when you actually follow a play, a blueprint, and then you actually follow the processes. But most importantly, this is something that you guys don't see behind the scenes. Manny, when we were talking about earlier, you were mentioning, dude, when you told me $20,000 a week, what was the first thing that popped up in your mind at first?
Yeah, at first it was just like, there's no way, like you're coming, you're telling me $20,000 a week. It just didn't seem real. Yeah. It was a limited belief for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just felt unreal. To me, it was, I'm going to close 2 jobs per week, regardless of the job size. I really didn't, calculate how much an average job size should be or what it looked like. So to me, it was just, I'm going to sell 2 jobs, whether it's, $1,000 or whether it's $500. If I sold 2 jobs, to me, it was a big win. But, that was not knowing a lot about business, of course.
Yeah. So tell us, now that you have a little bit more structure, obviously we're still working on certain processes, but now that you have a little bit more structure on the numbers and understanding that, what has that done for you in the business?
And it, having clear numbers, it helps me move forward. So if there's specific jobs where I'm bidding them incorrectly, it helps me get a good understanding of, why we're failing on specific jobs, how I should bid them going forward. And, it just brought a lot more clarity.
Nice. And, you know, for the viewers, obviously we have other contractors that come here, especially like the younger, because, you know, I consider you guys the younger generation that's taking over what we're teaching. What are some that you feel like someone needs to hear right now if they're just starting out their business, or, you know, they're having some struggles of kicking it off or dealing with the processes that you dealt with? What's something of advice that you would give them today?
Yeah, definitely get a coach. And, you know, a lot of the times we think we know it all. Once you pass your contractor's license and you get that license number and you feel like you're a CEO, that's just getting started, you know.
Yeah.
You can't be closed-minded and think like, oh, well, I'm a contractor. You have nothing to teach me. No, because I'm a contractor, I want to get to your level. So how can I get to your level? Well, by really learning and understanding your processes. I think everything changed ever since I hired you on. At first, it was just like, I understand what I should be doing. I see other guys doing, you know, big numbers, and it's not all about the numbers, just the opportunities that they provide, you know, the community with even jobs and stuff like that. And it was always a goal to get to that. And, you know, now that we're able to work with you and you've reshaped our business, you've allowed us to see the bigger picture and really focus on getting our company to the next level. And I feel like without a coach, there's no way you can do that. Having a limiting belief of, hey, you know what, a coach isn't going to really shape my business. I already know how to paint. Yeah, we know how to paint, but we don't know how to do business, you know? So you really need someone to really guide you through, and I felt like there's no better coach than yourself. So
I appreciate that, brother. Well, it makes it easy because you being an athlete too, you understand that you had a coach when you were an athlete. You have a coach being in business, right? And I think a lot of people kind of miss that like even I have a coach, right? Like coaches have coaches,
right.
Leaders have leaders that lead them. So I think a lot of people have a bad thought process behind that. And what's beautiful about having a coach is also it's to protect you, to see things you don't see, so that we can get ahead of it so you don't have those problems, right? So that's important. If you could tell us, like, where do you think 47 Painting is coming in the next 5 years? Like, what do you foresee that going to be like?
Yeah, man, there's really no ceiling to this, you know?
Yeah.
Every time that I feel like I'm doing well, you show us the next level, you open up a window of what's possible. And it just, you know, gives us a bigger picture of where we should be. So, again, there's really no ceiling. If I feel like in 5 years, you know, we're stepping out of the business, I'm already talking to Joel and saying, hey, Joel, stepping out of the business, you give us an idea of where to invest, what the next move should look like. So I feel like having you as a coach, it's opened up so many doors. It's been amazing, man. So.
Good for you, man. I'm excited for you. Now, if you can look back at your 17-year-old self, what would you tell that boy to become the man you are today? What would be that message?
Just staying consistent. You know, as a 17-year-old, I mean, that's such a long time ago. I was still very dedicated to the soccer. I think one of the reasons why the soccer didn't work out was because the mentality, you know, during that time, you have specific things that can go on in your life. So you have the parties and your friends going to all the parties, and then you have the opportunity to be an athlete and be elite, you know. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes we make the wrong decisions. Same thing like in business. Sometimes you have two tough decisions to make. One's the right one, one's the wrong one, but the wrong one seems a little bit more fun, you know. And I feel like if I would have just been a little bit more consistent during those 17 years that I had of life, and, you know, all the adrenaline and the soccer and, you know, all the capacity that I had, if I would have just been a little bit more disciplined like I am now, you know, who knows what that would have taken me to, you know. So that's one thing I don't necessarily regret, because God has, you know, the plan for everyone. Yeah. You know, if I wasn't an athlete, maybe I wouldn't have met Joel, you know, maybe I wouldn't have had my family that I have, which is a beautiful family. But I think, you know, if I'm able to say one thing is, man, just stay disciplined. You know, and once I'm 40, I'll look back and see if I actually stayed disciplined, you know. The results will tell.
That's the beauty of that, right? So a couple more questions before we wrap up. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's important for the younger viewer to listen and be like, oh, man, I'm hearing that from Manny. Because you got to remember, like, a lot of people don't realize how much influence we have online, right? And there's people watching your company grow, but they don't see the behind the scenes and all the pains we go through in our companies. You know, I know you're getting really heavy in the content game. What are some behind the scenes you could kind of share with the audience? Like, hey, these are certain things we deal with, right? But keep pushing, because you keep saying discipline and consistency. What does that look like behind the scenes, and what are some pains that you could share that these guys have to understand that we all go through that?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are going through different battles, you know, whether it's family, friends, or business, work relationships, stuff like that. And I think when things get tough, that's when your real character shows up, you know. I feel like, you know, sometimes there is, you know, those 7 o'clock phone calls where it's an angry customer, hey, you know, and it could be for the smallest reason, but they'll make it a huge deal. And you got to be able to show up for your team. You got to back up your team. You got to back up yourself, and you got to back up your family. So I feel like during those tough moments, it's whenever you really have to show your character, really go put your chest out, and you know, take care of the problem before it becomes a bigger issue. A lot of people, once things start getting a little bit tough, that's when they quit, and they were just that close to success, you know. So a lot of people don't know. You know, we were almost, we shared this with you, we were so close to losing our house, you know. Yeah. We had a foreclosure paperwork right there, and it could have been very easy to give up. What did we do? We invested in Joel instead of paying our mortgage, which was super crazy. But that's how much, you know, we believed in you, and now, you know, it's been an uphill ride from there, and you know, I'm very grateful to God that we made that decision.
Yeah, likewise, man. And it's funny, like, what a lot of people don't know that I related to your story. Just so you guys know, I met Manny at PaintCon in 2024. Yeah. And I remember you just looking in my eyes and saying, hey, this is what I'm going through right now. What are some things that you can tell me to help me with? And I just told you, consistency, find out what your numbers are, go after it, call me when you're ready. Yeah. Remember?
Yeah, and it almost sounds too easy. I think that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
People want easy, but when it sounds too easy, it's like, I don't know. I see a lot of people do backlash online, not yourself, but with different coaches and stuff like that. And it's like, yes, it sounds easy because it really is. You know, it's just we put our guard up like, like what you're saying sounds too easy. Yeah. So whenever you weren't pushy about moving forward with you, that's when I was like, okay, this guy is the real deal. Yeah, if you would have been pushy with like, hey, Manny, are you going to sign? Hey, Manny, lock in and give me your deposit. Yeah. Then at that point, who knows where we would have been, you know? Yeah. Maybe you're still the real deal, but the pushiness wouldn't have worked. Yeah. Because you weren't pushy and you were just kind of like, whenever you're ready, give me a call. It made me believe in what you had going on. So it's like, okay, so he's giving me advice for free. Like, why? Like, why is he? We had that call where you told me the 20,000 were doable, and that was my next goal, and you weren't even my coach at that time. I know you remember. And it's like stuff like that. You believe in people like that because they're not being pushy to gain something out of it. Right. Of course, now you're my coach, and you know, I feel like I'm gaining a lot more than you are. Sure. But at the end of the day, you know, this is a partnership that is a lifelong one now, and that's how I feel about that.
I love that, and I'll tell a quick story. So when we wrap up here. What a lot of people don't realize is the sacrifices that I took to move from Arizona. I had a beautiful home. We had a brand new build in 2016, and the opportunity knocked on my door to open up a painting company in San Diego. Didn't know anything about painting, didn't know what to do, and I just said yes. And then we moved into this tiny apartment, like this studio apartment.
Big shift.
And I was paying more in rent than I was my mortgage. So like, I share that story because when you told me, and by the way, I was also in foreclosure at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was because I couldn't afford my mortgage at the time. And I took a risk to just sell it, sold my home, moved to San Diego, which is more expensive than Arizona, bet on myself and on my wife. When you told me that, I saw a little bit of me inside you, right? But when I say, hey, I'm ready when you're ready, I truly believe that because what happens is when someone tries to make a decision based off of someone trying to force them, then it's never really fully all-in mentality, right? I know when you're ready to rock. And it's the same thing. Every time you make a decision, that's what happens, right? So I want to share that with the audience so that everybody understands that when you guys make a decision to move forward, that's when everything starts to click and you not look back. You just keep moving forward. The reason why the car has a windshield, it's larger than the rear view mirror, is because we got to look forward in what we're going to do moving forward with those decisions. The rear view mirror is smaller because we can't keep looking back. We got to keep moving forward.
That's facts.
Right? So, Manny, my man, where can we find you? Where can they come and message you and ask you for some advice or anything like that? Where could they find you?
So for the local community, come and find us here in Merced, California. You know, this is where we have our shop. I like to think about it a little bit bigger. This is our headquarters right here. You'll find Stacy here smiling, greeting everyone. Come in for a cup of coffee, talk to us about your project, and you know, we'll be happy to go out there and give you a free estimate. For those online that are looking to connect with the 47 Painting team, you guys could reach us at 47 Painting _INC on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll be happy to you know, share on what we've learned. This whole community that Joel has built, in case you guys haven't seen it, it's amazing. You know, it's a lot of game that people are passing on. no one really tries to keep to themselves, and I think that's what's amazing about this whole thing. You know, I think all of 50 plus of us that are in your community, we all believe the same things that you teach, you know?
Yeah.
So I could talk to someone from Arizona and they'll tell me the exact same things that I believe about you because you've engraved that into us. And now, you know, we're able to pass on those teachings to our teams. And that's the reason why we find success.
I love that, man. Well, you guys heard it. You can find him also at 47 Painting on Instagram and then 47paintinginc.com or
so you can find us 47paintinginc.com. But yeah, 47painting.inc on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll be happy to help you guys out.
all right, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.